All right. So Sean picked out my walk-up song before he knew my outfit change. So I'm just going to give it a moment for you to enjoy. Yeah. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. So we're going to roll into the first panel here, but before we do, some of you are wondering why I look like this, and some of you wish I wouldn't acknowledge it, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway. So last Horizon that we had right on the start of COVID, Milind and Sinatra came over from India. If you don't know Milind and Sinatra, one Milind is awkwardly filming me, and Sinatra is in the back with the beautiful, their baby Juniper. They are the heart and soul of XBE. This is their boast here. So if you haven't met them, please do. I don't know what that makes Junie. I think that makes her the joy of XBE. If you guys are the heart and soul, oh, I'm getting teary. She's so sweet. Anyway, so they came out last Horizon conference, and like the gracious folks they are, they came out and they brought traditional Indian outfits for our full staff. So we had a nice little wrap party at the Divine household, and they debuted these traditional Indian shirts. And everyone tries them on, and they're like, oh, this is so beautiful. This is really cool. And then it came to Matt Lerner. If you haven't met Matt, he's the muscle that moved the stage around for me. Came to us trying to try them on. So we tried on our traditional Indian shirts, and for various dimension reasons that are different between Matt and I, they didn't fit. It was weird. I literally had to bend over like this as Sinatra pulls a shirt over me like a stuffed sausage, and then she goes, please, Grant, don't move your arms down. It's going to rip, and I would like to return this. So anyway, she took the shirt literally off my back and went back to India thinking, like, they just don't make sizes that large. So it's been 2 years now, and apparently the camera puts on far more than 10 pounds. So Sinatra and Milind came back out for this conference, and they brought me a new shirt. And I took them out to lunch on Friday, and Sinatra's like, hey, Grant, I made sure to buy you a shirt and bring it this time that for sure will fit you. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet. It's very gracious. I glance in my bag, and I'm like, it's swordfish themed. Huh. I didn't know that that was a traditional Indian pattern, but cool. I'm just going to smile and be happy. I took it home, and I unfurled it and figured out that she bought a shirt that will fit Matt and I all at once. And I immediately felt horrible that I am so self-deprecating on my size, that sweet Sinatra brought me a shirt, only to find out I was the butt of a joke. Then she just wanted me to feel very awkward. So to lean into the joke, I decided to wear this and thank her publicly for her fashion sense. So thank you. Thank you for that, Sinatra. The other reason I'm dressed like this is because one of our next panelists is Trey Bowen. I've known Trey since 2009, and it's mostly the bit of my career to embarrass him. So since he's going to be stuck up here with me for 35 minutes, I figured when in Rome, 2 birds, 1 stone, put on some jorts and a huge shirt, and we're good to go. So we're about to roll into our first panel this morning. So I'm going to have Trey, Bowen, and Jacob Mrugacz, if you guys want to come up and over here for a second. This panel is case studies in ambitious goals. So I had the opportunity to think about who we can invite up here, and for a litany of reasons, I invited these two guys as guys I really respect. As I said, I've known Trey since 2009. He's been my boss, my mentor, my friend, and it's been amazing to see the journey that he and his companies have been on. And Jacob Mrugacz I've known since about 2016 when he was in a much different role in a much different industry, and getting to see how he's come up as a leader across multiple organizations has been very inspirational. It's been a joy to observe that and be a friend to Jacob through that time. So I thought I'd bring them up here for this panel. So guys, why don't you come up? Next slide, please. Since XBE is a big AI company, I thought I would use AI to create some intro slides for our esteemed guests. So what I did is I just turned on the talk-to-speech function for ChatGPT, and I thought I'd describe Trey Bowen and then say, hey, make a slide of what this man looks like. So this is what it spit out. It had some things there that I agreed with. There's some nice infrastructure art. There's legacy, which is important to Trey and his companies and strategic vision and legacy, but that guy doesn't exactly look like Trey. It's more John Stamos, which is weird. So what I said to ChatGPT is I said, okay, that was great. I like the background, but I don't know how to say this nicely. He's not that good looking. So like just a little more facial hair, shorter hair, and remake the image, please. And so no, not the next slide. We're not there yet. Pull it back one. So anyway, GPT made another slide, and instead of saying legacy and strategic vision, the background just said not that good looking. So I couldn't live with that. So anyway, Trey Bowen as John Stamos is number one. Then number two, I described Jacob Mrugacz. Now we can go to the next one. And it was just pure Wisconsin. Like, I don't know why they glean so heavy,
Spot on.
Yeah, cows and corn and the pack, just all the things. But I should describe myself next year for my intro slide, because we have now learned that GPT really makes you look great. So anyway, that's Jacob Mrugacz. Guys, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to introduce yourself and your companies real quick, and then we'll jump into it.
Where's the spotted cow in the Wisconsin? I mean,
Well, there was a cow.
Yeah, Trey Bowen, he said a lot of things about me, mostly that I'm not that good looking. But we have Legacy Infrastructure Group is the company that we have created in the last few years, and right now that business has two operating businesses, Superior Bowen here in Kansas City that is well represented, and Haskell Lemon in Oklahoma City, which is also represented here, both XBE customers. And I've been, as Sean said, a partner of Sean's on the XBE adventure for several years, and we do a few other things, but that's who I am.
Well, I'm obviously the good-looking guy from the AI ad over there, but my name is Jacob Mrugacz. I'm the president of Rock Road Companies, Wolf Paving. In Wisconsin, we do asphalt paving, site utility work, earth moving, and then we also are in the Rockford market in Illinois there. So happy to be here and can't wait to see what Grant comes up with.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So our objective here on this panel is for you guys to walk away to just learn and hear how two leaders have set ambitious goals for their companies and a little bit on how they've pursued that. So first question is for both of you. Can you guys give me an example of an ambitious goal that you set for your organization, and what pursued you or motivated you to go after it?
I'm happy to go first. Mine was actually when we implemented XBE for Wolf. So it's our smaller division inside our group of companies. I drug my feet, if I'm being honest, on signing the contract and negotiating all those fun legal terms and all that good stuff. And then Grant came to me and said, well, when do you want to do this? And I said, well, how about 3 months from now? And I want to do it all. And he kind of looked at me funny, and we had a fun conversation that I still remember. But we did it. And the reason I did it was because everybody in my company was telling me, we can't do this. This is going to take 2 years. It's going to be a heartache and everything else. And then we did it, and it worked. There was some heartache along the way. And my Wolf employees were here. They'd be throwing stuff at me on the stage. But it was a good thing. It really propelled us forward in some operational things that we needed to tackle to get better. So that's mine.
So mine was maybe a little softer, which some of my goals, as they come across, may feel a little softer in terms of non-numeric, in terms of how to quantify them. But I would say it was probably 15 years ago, and that goal was that we were going to change the culture of our company. And as you all know, with cultures, they're really hard to change. It's often said that cultures don't change, they get replaced. And we did some of both, to be honest. But what we really wanted to move from was sort of the old school, as we often say in our industry, the old school sort of he who gets up earliest and works the hardest and shovels the most wins, to a new school that really embraces technology as a way to become more efficient, and that also really embraces accountability. And we come together to set goals, and then we hold each other accountable to achieving our objectives. And we employ, as part of that, something that I heard this term and I loved it. It's called cultural Darwinism, and that is we're going to be a high-performing organization and those that aren't up for that type of culture are going to just sort of be voted off the island by the group. And it's not that I have to go in and fire anybody. It's more self-selection. The group removes those that are not adhering to the culture. So that's probably my biggest goal.
Yeah, great. And Trey, kind of a follow-up on that one. Your group, Legacy Infrastructure Group, has grown significantly through acquisition. And I know there's a lot of companies out there that have gone through that, are going through that, or will go through that. What challenges did you face in consolidating your markets or moving into new markets, and how did you align your team with that vision?
Yeah, the lot to that question. So we've made a few acquisitions, both in the markets we're already in and now outside of. And, I think, again, a recurring theme probably for me will be culture and the relatedly values. And so I think, we really, in our business, rely on our values to guide us. And there's some core values, and again, it sounds cliche, but it's true in our case that they guide us. They help us remind ourselves how we behave in all situations. So, we look at getting companies to come in and choose to be part of Legacy that have shared values in their leadership, in their history. And we've been fortunate in that regard. We've had the O'Donnell Company here in Kansas City and Haskell Lemon who had long histories of doing things that we find very valuable and important, like treating people with respect, both inside the walls and outside. I think that's a core value that really is central to who we are. And really, I think like if you do some of these softer things, and you attract the right people that are sort of self-motivated, and then you surround them with this group of people that really holds these values true. It's not a lot of like motivating I have to do, right? You just bringing the right collection of types of people together to work on the same ambition and making sure that the culture and the environment is such that people feel comfortable and motivated, and you try to eliminate what I often call unnecessary drama, right? Those conflicts of politics and all the things that I think can leave people at the end of the day feeling less energized about what they are doing in their life, what their purpose is. So those are the things that I think about a lot. In terms of if we can get those and they're difficult, but once you have them, they're like it's just like we just need to continue to make sure that remains our core focus. Then a lot of the other stuff takes care of itself because you have a group of people that are capable, that want to do great things, that are very interested in figuring out how to leverage technology or whatever it may be to just continue to be better every day. So.
And I think that is a very great point to tie into the ideas of setting goals and game plans. Is when you have cultural alignment, it feels less like work and less like a chore to both set those goals and chase them, because people are on a team rowing in the same direction with the same heart behind it. So I really appreciate you bringing up that point. Jacob, question for you as an outside family member coming on to be the president of Rock Roads and their family of companies. How have you, as a outside president coming in, worked to get alignment on your vision with the family and the leadership team? And what has that looked like for you?
Yeah, so I stepped in for a former family member who left the business abruptly at his own choice, who was the third generation in the business, and I came in. The family's last name is Kennedy. I'm definitely not a Kennedy if you can see the screen. I got one of those good Polish last names. But I think the biggest thing is, and I've gotten some advice a number of times in my career that just rings true, which is if you're stepping into a situation as a new leader, I'm going to use a little construction talk here, but I'm just going to say don't F it up. And what I really mean is find what they're doing well, keep that going, and then find the things that they're not doing well and do something about it. So I spent a lot of time with our leadership team just asking questions and like not getting in the middle of, hey, you're still going to run with this. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to ask a lot of questions to get you to explain things. And I have one rule when we do that is you can't say, this is how we've always done it, this is why we do that. I think it's really important. I think that's what makes the difference between a good company and a great company is you can go out there and just get by every day. We can lay some asphalt that's flat, meets, passes the quality spec. If we can talk about why, and it's all the little stuff that I think XBE's gotten good at, of like, how to plan that start time, how to get the right number of trucks there, that sort of thing that makes a big difference. I say it all the time. We are a for-profit business. We have a lot of goals around culture and safety and people, but we're trying to make a couple bucks for our owners and therefore for ourselves as employees. If we can make all those things better, it's a lot easier to do that with some of that work than just trying to go take another 20% of the market. That doesn't exist always, right? I'd love to tell you Wisconsin and Illinois are just adding 20% to the market every year. It's probably not happening. So we'd rather be better at what we're doing and get better that way than just have to go out and find new work that really isn't there or might be going the other way.
Thanks for that. Question for both of you to answer. How do you work with your teams to educate them on the why? So talked about having culture. Sean talked about in his last presentation, in his example of late starts, one of the first goals on that example was helping to quantify what the economic impact of a late start is. So as you guys address goals and challenges within your organization, how do you across the board tackle those whys to get alignment?
Yeah, so one of the things that we, as part of our cultural sort of shift that, is extremely important to us and a big part of what we do is that we're very transparent, and we also believe in measuring. So we measure a lot, and we start at the top. We measure our bottom line. We're about making money. I think if you're not, then it's hard to stay in business. And so we share our financial results with our entire management team of 85 people every month. So we start there, and we have an incentive comp program that's directly tied to that. So it's like, here's how we're doing, here's where we expect to end the year, here's what that means for everybody in this room, and then what can we do to impact that. So we're sharing a lot, and we're measuring. And now we're taking that down into the division level. We're setting goals, and we're doing monthly KPI reports to really, bring some metrics throughout the organization and sharing it across. Like, I believe very strongly that and it fits in well with Sean's football bit here, Mr. Lombardi, during the week you're practicing, right? And the scoreboard is not on Saturday or Sunday or Friday night, whatever. They turn the scoreboard on and the intensity goes up. I believe that a lot of companies are kind of having a lot of their teammates playing with no scoreboard involved. And I think when you don't have a scoreboard, you're practicing. So we try to bring scoreboards into our business as much as we can so that we're always have that sort of heightened sense of it's game day, it's not practice day. So I think that's a big way that we do it. It's just transparency, metrics, sharing across, challenging ourselves and making sure everybody's on the same page of where we're achieving our goals or metrics and where we're not and why.
What about you, Jacob? How do you pursue and educate that why?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to what Trey said. I think sharing financial information, it doesn't always mean dollars and cents. Sometimes it's more production statistics. With the right group of people is really important. You want them to know, if you're going to make a change, you want them to almost see the need for the change before you're bringing it up, and that's the big thing. So when I came to Rock Road, we used to have this. I found, like, once you get to know the employees a little bit better and you get the real answers, everyone referred to, like, this West Wing thing where the executives and the financial people were, and like information didn't come out of there, right? So it all went, we had all this high-end job costing, all this stuff, and nobody saw it. We started getting that out in a certain fashion to more people who were making the decisions and understanding the cost impacts, and it's made a really big difference. Now they're bringing ideas to the table. It's not just management forcing them down. So it's very similar, but I think it's simple. Share information with the right people. It doesn't have to be everything. We're not sharing the owner's checkbook with everybody, obviously. There's a limit there, right, where you cut it off at some point, depending on your company structure. But I think it's blast that information out to everybody and then listen to have them share their ideas with you. I'm not the smartest guy in the room by any means, whether I'm in my own company and definitely not here. If you listen to ideas, you're going to find some good stuff there. You'll find some nonsense too. There's no doubt about it. But the good stuff always outweighs the nonsense.
Yeah, I think you guys both hit on a super valuable point, which is if and when you share information and objectives, then you actually tap into more of the team's creativity to have a positive feedback loop for setting more goals or for ideas on how to pursue those, maybe different than what you thought. So it's that actually giving and sharing the information creates a feedback loop that makes you better than just like ramming it down their throat and saying just because the wonks in the corner said this is the reason why we're doing that thing. So that's great. Appreciate that. So Trey, you've used technology quite a bit, and you hit on this on some of your goal 15 years ago of using technology to lead the industry. Specifically on the XBE story, being that you are the OG customer here in the room, that's the boast, by the way. Hey, Superior Bowen folks, can you guys stand up for just a second? I'm just going to get out on a limb here. So all the folks standing up here are with Superior Bowen, and like I said, Superior Bowen was the first vertically integrated customer of XBE. So these folks have been through it, and Sean said, and I'll say, we really appreciate you guys, one, for the vision early on, and for supporting us through the years, and even coming out and being a part of this, and being gracious hosts always in Kansas City. So appreciate that. So back to the question, Trey. So on technology, how have you used technology and embracing tools to achieve some of your goals? And how did you manage that change in adapting technology with the team?
Well, first of all, along the way, I tossed Grant across the line to Sean, and that's a long story, a good one. It worked out well for all involved, I think. So anyway. Yeah, we were bleeding edge on XBE. We were figuring it out with them, and I think first of all, the why. I mean, the why. I think now that we can look back and call this a success story, because there were a lot of days in between where you didn't know if this was the right decision or not. And again, we were back when XBE was very infant, and so it's a lot different story now. My confidence that people can implement successfully in a narrow amount of time is very different. Is that we had a lot of bottlenecks or choke points in our business that had to somehow be resolved. Like, we could not have gotten to where we are today without figuring out how to unclog those choke points. We had people that were dispatching our entire logistic operation with paper, phone calls, and text messages, and that was happening at all hours of the day, every day of the year, literally. And I know I'm not speaking like we're different than everybody else in here, but from my standpoint, we were burning people out. Those that were at the tip of that sort of problem were burning out, literally burning out. And B, we had absolutely no way that we could grow. Like, if anything, we had to shrink so we didn't kill people. And so we had to solve this problem. And so I knew that. I didn't know how to solve it. I didn't know any solution out there that I'd heard about that had been solved. So I had this problem on my mind like all the time. And then I heard about what Sean was doing, literally a 5-word description. It was it. I think it was something along the lines of he's trying to build an XBE or a Uber for trucks. And I said, trucks. All right. I called him up. I said, I hear you're. And so, long story short, he was working on a problem. We had a problem. And I think bringing those two things together ended up being very powerful for a lot of reasons. But, I think, a couple things. Like, you can only move as fast as you can move, right? So you can't push a string. I think that's part of our strategy, is like, we want to move as fast as we can, but not faster than we can. And so, this is proven to us that if we can really embrace good technology, it unlocks opportunity that's incredible. And we all know that, right? Technology has a multiplying effect that's hard to sort of understand in other contexts of our business. But I think, yes, we like technology. I think, when we talk about change management, it's about why. Well, we had an existential problem that we were solving. That was sort of our why. Whether XBE was going to be the right solution to unlock it, I don't know that we knew that on day one, but clearly it's taken our company to a very scalable place, which has done really magnificent things for us.
So, Jacob, one of the things that I appreciate about you as a peer and a friend is your desire to hold people and accountable. And the upside of accountability, we all know. The downside of accountability is sometimes it leads to hard and uncomfortable conversations. So as a leader, as you chase big goals, how do you hold people accountable and work with your team, but yet still maintain morale? How do you walk that fine edge between driving hard and also making sure that you don't hurt the culture?
I've had success with, I call it making most of the ideas their ideas, right? So you ask a bunch of questions to an employee or even a vendor or somebody, and you try and make it their idea. Like, you may have a goal in mind. I want to get this person to do this or be held accountable for this, but you really try and make it their idea. If you can make it their idea, even if they don't always realize that, you'll find that they're always going to buy in, they're always more into it. And sometimes their idea is actually better than the one you walked into the room with, right? You're like, oh, that's actually pretty good. I didn't think of that. Let's go with that. What I was going to say is kind of dumb now, so let's move forward with that. I think it's the combination of that, and I'm going to repeat myself, which I hate doing, but I think it's important, getting them to explain the why behind their decisions or their results, right? So if you have a goal, even if it's as simple as something, we're going to pave X tons an hour on this job, why are we above or below that, and get them to explain that. If you get them doing more of that than just, hey, we completed the task, we completed the objective, you'll find that people are much more in tune with what's going on and are going to do something about it. So I think it's asking questions, get them to explain the why, and ask leading questions to lead them to the result.
So this question's for both of you. It was originally going to be a Trey question, but Jacob, I think you really hit on this earlier, so now I'm co-opting it, so thank you for that. You're both represent and lead multi-generation companies where legacy is important. Literally said out loud from you guys up here, literally in some of your core values. Sometimes legacy feels like doing things the way that we did it. How do you balance the importance of legacy in your culture and company and also drive for growth, innovation, and change?
So to me, legacy is leaving behind something great for the next generation. Like, that's what we want to do. And the other side of that would be to look backward and honor the legacy. And I think the best way to honor the legacy is to build something that's amazing, that they're proud of and they're going to be proud of. So I think about it in terms of generationally, like to continue to do things the way we did them back in the prior generation would have hindered the success of our generation and therefore the next generation. So it's about every day saying, we have really kind of a couple things we talk about around goals a lot, that, or at least I do, and they're again hard to quantify, but we want to be best of class and world class. And how do you define those? Well, I mean, some of it is just understanding peers, a lot of peer group work, a lot of networking. Like, what does best of class and world class look like? We want to be that in every single domain and facet of our business. And we can look in the mirror and say, are we best of class? In some ways we are, and in some ways we're definitely not. But we wake up every day saying we want to move ourselves to best of class, whether that be in our accounting domain or our safety domain or our production paving domain. All the dozens of domains we have, we want to strive to do that, and we have a mindset of continuous improvement, and so that leads us to like incremental goals all the time within all those different domains that sort of drive us forward. So I think for us, our legacy is let's be as good as we possibly can, because that's going to serve the future well, and it's going to make the past, our prior generation, proud of what they built and what we've taken and made even better.
Well said.
Yeah, I work for a family-owned company. We've been around for over 100 years. We've got great pictures of like horses pulling stuff that, you can't really, when we're talking about all this cool software, you can't even imagine today. So it's a neat thing. I think the thing I'm proudest of is we work for a family-owned company, and while not everybody, myself included, has the last name Kennedy, like the owners do, it really feels like a family environment. We kind of go to that next level for our employees, especially if a spouse or a child or something has an issue. I think we really stand for them. I think it's a combination of that, and then just we're kind of, this is a good thing, but kind of circling around on stuff here, but bringing people into decisions, so it's not just owners and those people with that certain last name making all the decisions. At the end of the day, if you perform and you do well, I'm probably a good example of that, of having a couple opportunities within the same bigger organization. They're going to keep moving you up and just give you more responsibility, more headaches. No, I'm just kidding. But they're gonna move you up and give you those opportunities, and we try and do the same thing with a lot of our employees of, hey, if you perform well and and you can identify those objectives and those successes, you're going to get opportunities to do more. And it really doesn't matter if you're a family, because we're all in this together, and if we all do well, we're gonna do well together on the whole picture and in continued employment and financial benefits and the other things.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So we talked a lot about on the positive side of setting goals, but sometimes there's the negative, and you both addressed this a little bit, which is sometimes there's pushback. Some people are resistant to change. Some people don't understand the vision. Some people just aren't up for trying something new. As leaders, tasked with driving your organizations forward, how do you deal with that? Yeah. Now you're like, no, you go.
I think people are resistant to change because they don't want to be held responsible for stuff, and because it's different, right? And there's this, I think Sean actually said it earlier, every time you bring up something new, whether it's a new piece of XBE or something new in your business, everybody finds everything that's wrong with it, right? And it could be as stupid as we're going to go buy a new paver. They move the controls 3 inches to the left on the paver. Our paving guys will absolutely freak out, and they have. And then 6 months later, we're on the paver, and by the way, we just put X tons through it. It worked out well, and we're laying down mix, and everything is going well. So I think a lot of it as a leader, you just have to be willing to challenge your employees and say, what's really the bad outcome here, right? I use a bad joke every day that you got to be careful how you apply this joke, but is someone going to die? Is someone going to happen? Are these extreme things going to happen? Are we going to go out of business because we're going to do this? Probably not, right? Let's give it a try and see what happens. If failure means maybe a small financial ramification or something else, obviously safety comes first, but we're more than willing to try that out and give it a whirl. 9 times out of 10, it works out, and the people figure it out because they have good intentions and can get through it. So it's just getting those people over that natural hump of, I don't want to do something because it might fail because it's different.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would just say, like, as I try to think of examples, because I know you probably have witnessed some, more and more as I have better people in our business that do more of the stuff than I do because they're amazing, is like we got a problem, right, whether it's that choke point that is going to keep us from getting here to there. Do we have consensus around the fact that we have a problem that we can define or an opportunity? You say it either way. Yes, we have consensus. What do we think is the best way to solve that, right? What's out in the marketplace? Who is it? People? Is it technology? Okay, we agree on that. Now we're down the path, and any resistance, you sort of come to a point where you go, all right, you just kind of have to adjust, right? What's working and what's not working. What doesn't work for me is we're just going to quit doing this, right? We're not just going to quit doing this unless you have a better idea and can kind of articulate and show us how, again, the agreed upon opportunity or problem can be resolved by changing course. But usually it's not changing course, it's correcting course. And so I think that has worked out well, and we had to do that with XBE, right? XBE was figuring out their business model. We were trying to figure out how to make it work for our company, and some of those things conflicted, and there were some moments where it was like, we're going to change course, and I'm like, we're not changing course because we're not going back to where we were. We're going to correct course, and we did that with Sean and his team, and it worked out. So I think it's really not pushing them into something they don't believe. I mean, I think that's hard, getting them rowing against, they really truly don't believe there's any path to success. Otherwise, we're talking about, okay, what is working and what's not, what do we need to change, instead of we're just not going to do this.
So just for the audience to know, I'm going to ask these guys for their kind of one nugget for leaders in setting and pursuing ambitious goals. And then we'll have time for 2 questions from the audience. If you guys have any questions for these guys that they were unprepared for, which I love. So just have that in your pocket if there's something that you want to know about them, their companies, their leadership, and setting ambitious goals. So you guys I bought you like 20 seconds to think about your one nugget. So what is your one nugget to pass on to the leaders in this room as they set about the next 2 days thinking about ambitious goals?
Well, my first goal is to get you out of those jean shorts, because everybody needs to not see that again. So we can, hopefully you got your suit pants back there. We'll get that fixed.
It's too hot for that. I have work appropriate clothes after this. Thank you, Jacob.
My goal, I kind of said it already, but it's spend more time listening than telling people what to do. I've found that if you can just reflect on that every day and do that throughout your workday, you're always going to find more than you thought you knew from your employees. Because all of us leaders at times were so inclined, you probably got to that position because you're willing to make decisions and move it forward. If you spend more time listening to your employees than just telling them what to do, they're always going to be better employees for you, and the outcome's going to be better.
Yeah, I'm not very good at giving advice, but if I reflect on what's worked for us, I would say 2 things. I already mentioned the cultures that are based in our values is been important. The other thing I would say, that if my dad and uncle were here, I'd laugh about it with them, but I think it's important because it's just, I think it's prevalent in a lot of companies. That is, we're always willing and wanting to invest in our people and our equipment in the production world. Like, overhead was a bad word in our building. Like, we never really wanted to add overhead, and I just I look back now at what we are today versus what we were 10 years ago. We have a ton of more overhead, like an amazing amount more overhead. But with that has come way more top line and way more bottom line. And so I just think that's an interesting topic to talk about, because when I look at us versus our competitors, at least I can speak to, we have way more levels of management, like way more. But when people come over from those companies, they're like, the amount of support and everything that we get here where we can just do our job is unbelievable. And so I believe that with what we've done, adding highly talented people from the very top of our business all the way down, and adding layers, which is totally counterintuitive, at least it was for our family business, has freed people up to really focus on what they're really good at and what they're really passionate about. And these guys in the back are going, if we need 3 more levels, I get it. There's a lot that goes on every day. But for a company like ours, we have a lot of people, and but it works. It works very well, I think. I would just say investing in great people is an obvious statement, but it's been probably the thing that's helped us achieve our goals, and I think Sean would say the same. So,
I appreciate it, guys. Matt, do you want to grab a mic up here just in case questions here? Time for a couple questions from the audience for Trey and Jacob or both. So I'll open it up for questions. Matt's got a mic. He's going to hunt you down. Got one over there with John. Yeah, there you go, Matt. You got to walk all the way through. I mean, I'm sure John could project given his vocal cords, but
they turned me off. They're done. I get it. I got some Catholic songs. I mean,
well, that's why I grabbed the mic. I thought I might just have it for the rest of the day. So
yeah, perfect. So. I can't wait to hear.
I'm kind of here for the ad-lib John show all day.
Feel like I'm at a funeral here pretty soon.
And I'll lift you back up too.
Right.
Little Josh Groban will raise you up. So my question is, I guess for both, being a new company starting to work with XBE, what's 1 or 27 ways that you would recommend we get the most out of our experiences with XBE, or how do we drive them, or how do we help them drive us to get this started?
Yeah, I would say just when Grant came, I knew Grant from his previous role before XBE. When he came to kind of talk to me about XBE, we talked to like 90% of it wasn't about anything about the software. It was about people and change management and that kind of stuff. And he said, if you're good at change management and you really understand your business, XBE will be an easy thing for you to get through. So I would say it's really focus on what you want to do with XBE and why it's for you. I'm the lucky guy that gets to compete against Welbeck. They're a very good company. They do very good work. When you get into all that nitty gritty, when you get into XBE, you're going to talk about dispatching trucks and people and equipment and all that fun stuff that we've all been through. You're going to make a million decisions about your business. I would just say challenge the status quo. Here's kind of your chance to rip the Band-Aid off a little bit and do something different where it needs to be changed. You can just give all that work to Rock Road and Wolf, by the way, and we'll be real happy about that. But in all seriousness, I would say rip off the Band-Aid, challenge the status quo, because here's an opportunity to do different. By the time you get XBE fully implemented and your crew's all running with it, and all those supers in the field used to it, it's going to be harder to implement that change again because you don't want to keep hitting them with all that new stuff. So,
yeah, he's probably a lot better qualified to speak on this than I am. We're a long way into it, and it's kind of become. I always laugh because they were like, we got to be done with XBE. It was early on, and I'm like, we're not being done with XBE, and thank God I said that. What I always focus on what's the end game, right, and then break it down into incremental goal. Like, what are the few wins that we can get in the short term that sort of become the building blocks to really transitioning, hopefully, your business into a place where it's much more manageable and scalable. These guys, he worked with us. He knew asphalt. Sean came from the trucking world. He knows the logistics. Their understanding of our industry is unbelievable at this point. I mean, very, very, very in the weeds, knowledgeable about it. So just pick up the phone and say, anytime, like, you just need to rely on their expertise, and they're there to support you. Make them support you if you're having a problem.
Yeah, thanks. Another question. Thanks, John. William Gallagher is raising his hand. Another person who can project their voice, but we're giving a mic. Did you say he has a shorthand? Well, that was really rude, Matt. Oh, you didn't see him. We understand.
So
that was a roast, not a boast.
Kayla's funnier than you, so it's okay. So one of the joys with XB, which we didn't quite fully grasp before we had signed on, but it's become a lot more clear as the transparency it brings. You guys talk about sharing and being very transparent with financial information. Can you explain more of that, of like to what level, both within financials and within the company, of how far down that hole you go with sharing that sort of information?
Yeah, I can't. Sorry, by the way. Like, you caught us after a terrible Northern Illinois loss. I think we were taking it out on Purdue, right? Purdue, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Too soon, maybe.
Nah, I don't care. I'm a Hoosier.
Okay. I know. I was talking to your. So he was actually around when I started on this open book management kind of journey, and one of the things because again, let me just be clear. Prior generation, hell no. Like, that's our info, and no one knows it but the maybe 3 people in the company. As I learned more about it, I think one of the things that resonated with me, besides scoreboards are extremely motivating and important, is if whatever you're not telling them, they're making up their own story, and in most all cases, the story is worse than the truth, and worse can mean whatever, right? Like, either you're making more money than you actually are, or the business isn't as bad as it actually is. Whatever it may be, it's usually different than reality, and that's not usually super helpful, right? So, like, I remember one time back during the recession, we always paid out bonuses, right? And it was very much like, hey, last year we paid out this, and so I guess this year we'll kind of pay out this, and a few of us would sit in a room and go down the list and see what we paid them last year, and very subjective.
Is that why I got nothing?
Yes. It was very sort of subjective, right? And we had a bad year. Like, we didn't make any money, and yet here we were, like, talking about paying, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is not good for the business. Like, why is it not good for the business? Well, I mean, it's not good for the business from a balance sheet perspective, right? Like, health of the business. So that was really where I'm like, we have to have them know what is happening, like, in good times and bad. Like, it's all about, like, educating them about, like, why is it important to have a healthy balance sheet, right? And because you're going to go through ups and downs, right? Not every year is great. Not every year is terrible. You get sort of in between. And I think in having everybody in the room sort of understanding the same thing about, like, here's what's important and why, and how we're doing and why, and what we think we can do differently and how. And so we have Superior Bowen probably has 80 people in the room every month. So everyone who's not hourly. And we're going down the income statement, like, pretty detailed. Not every line, but 20 lines probably by business type. And we're comparing it to the year before, and we're showing where it lands on the bonus scale, so they know. Like, the other thing that happened to me was that year, I thought, I was watching Christmas Vacation, thinking, these poor people have no idea how much money they're going to get. Right? They're Clark Griswold out there, and they're planning to put a pool in the backyard for their family. And here we are going, we got to do what's right for the balance sheet, and we didn't give them a Jelly of the Month club, but we didn't give them what they wanted or expected in order to build that pool. And I don't want to do that anymore. Like, that was a lot. So now they know. They know in June where we're tracking, and so they know, and we're all in it together. And so we just think it's important for them to know a lot. And look, what are the risks of that? We don't make them sign a confidentiality agreement. We don't lock them in they can go tell people, I suppose. We haven't had that problem. We've been doing this for over 10 years now. Maybe it gets to our competitor. I don't know. But I think no chance we're changing the way we're doing it.
To follow up on Will's question on that, Trey, do you have the employees and managers partake in forecasting, where they set out how they think the different areas of the business are going to perform, what kind of levers that they can impact? Is that a part of that as well, or is it just a looking at how things went? And if so, how does forecasting play into that, and is that a benefit or not?
Yeah, in fact, we're forecasting the full year, starting in about May, right? We've kind of through most of the bidding season. So then we have a forecast that's really what we're sharing, where we expect the end of the year to be. And then we share where we're at year to date and how that applies to year to date, the prior year, and then year to date. They can see where we ended the previous year. So yes, we do a lot of forecasting. I think it's hard. We called it poorcasting when we started, and it was true. I mean, in this business where we don't have recurring revenue, it's not like our CVS did this year. They'll probably do 3% more next year. You guys know how it is. It's kind of up and down, and margins are hard to project, and volume is too. So, but we've gotten a lot better. It's just like anything else. You work that muscle and you get better, and we've gotten a lot better. We're not perfect, and we won't hit exactly the forecast. We reforecast every month, though, as a kind of a senior leadership team. We take the month results and we forecast it out, and that's what we share. So therefore, like, here's what changed from our last meeting to this meeting. We lowered our forecast, and here's why. And we'll tell them the 4 or 5 reasons that whether natural gas prices went up, or we didn't get a contract we were counting on, or we did get a contract we were counting on and it went up. So we like to talk about all that stuff, so we're all on the same page.
And it may seem like that was a bit of a rabbit hole to go down on sharing financials and forecasting, but the reason I wanted to follow up with that question is later this afternoon, as we break out into our game plan sessions with the by company, so you're going to be with your peers. The idea, like these lead into that idea of setting goals, understanding the why, forecasting what you think is possible, having metrics to evaluate your success, adjust upon it, so that you can continue to drive the execution after that big ambitious goal. I think it was worth. So thanks for sharing that, Trey and Will. Good question. We have time for one more question, and then we're gonna break. So who's lucky last question asker? Sorry, I lied to you guys with 2 questions. It's 3. Trey said he's used to my lies, for those of you who couldn't hear. Sean, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have a good follow-up question or capstone question for them before we dismiss? Ooh. What's one goal that you wish you set?
I don't live that way, Sean. You know that. I'm not a regret guy.
I think we are doing some work around, ironically, kind of like an incentive plan for our key group of people, right? The top, we'll call it top brass. It's not done yet, and I think as I reflect back, some of that is because we didn't, as much as I challenge people, great, you're going to do this when, like, it's so natural for me to do that to other people. I didn't do it to myself because I'm the one leading that. So I think throwing a date at that is probably one I wish I had tackled.
I'm really not good at this. That's probably why you asked it, aren't you?
All right, he's copying out.
Was it letting Grant come up in those jean shorts? Because maybe we should have talked about that before this.
You can only regret things that you have power over. So I appreciate you guys coming up here again. I've been very honored to know you guys over the years and really respect the leadership that you guys have brought to both the industry and your organizations. And thanks for taking time out of your days to come up and be open and share with everyone the ups and downs and the hows of setting these goals. So before I ask you guys to give it up for these guys, just a point of housekeeping. We're going to have a break here, and we are circling back up at 2:50. So it's 2:43 right now. At 2:50, my siren-esque voice will be back on this mic, and we will jump into it again. So round of applause for Trey and Jacob.